Welcome to Empowering Innovators, the series where we talk about innovation the startup way. Today I have with me Janneke Niessen, entrepreneur, author, and also ambassador at UNICEF. Welcome, Janneke.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hey Janneke, you are an entrepreneur in your veins, basically. You started already at quite a young age.
Yes.
Why did you decide after your studies to not move into the business world, in the corporate world, but start your own company?
Well, I did work for 2 years at a company before I started my own. But I don't know, always I've had this idea, one day I want to be an entrepreneur. And for me it was just really cool to build a company and create something that other people wanted to use. And so I just started.
Do you come from an entrepreneurial family where you had that inspiration, or do you know where it came from?
No, I have no idea. And the funny thing is, when I did start, being an entrepreneur wasn't cool at all. So everybody around me told me I was stupid because I had a mortgage, I had a nice job, so why on earth would I go the entrepreneurial route?
Yeah. How do your friends look at it today?
Different. But I think in general the climate changed a lot about entrepreneurship, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. And you went into the media/advertising world, right? First with DQ&A and then with Improved Digital.
Yes.
I mean, that landscape has changed a lot in the last 18, 20 years.
Yeah.
What do you see are the biggest changes that happened? And
Well, first the technology change. So everything is automated these days. Everything goes through platforms where in the beginning everything went through fax, if people still know what that is. And the other big change is the big publishers. The traditional media publishers basically have way less power today than they had 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So now the big tech companies are actually the big media players who get all the budget. So Facebook, Google, Amazon, they all have, well, most of the budget.
And how did you adapt as a company and as a leader of the company or founder of the company to these market changes that happened quite fast, in a few years basically?
Well, we actually were a driving part of that change in Europe. So we saw the benefits you could have with automation. So that's why we wanted to help media owners and publishers with. So we decided to build our own tech. Since what was out there we thought could be better and didn't really fit the needs of European publishers. So we actually saw opportunities in that change.
Right. And you plugged into it and started developing technology, creating the business model around that. How did you, because you co-founded it together with Joël, the company, how did you guys or ladies divide the roles in the company?
Yeah, in a very pragmatic way. I used to be at DQ&A, and there I was more responsible for operations and products, and Joël was at Microsoft, more in a sales role. So then you just say, oh, you're better at this, and you're better at that, and then you I don't think you see it really that way, and you just look who is strong where, and that's why you divide things. But still, all the big decisions you take together. Yeah.
And why was Joël at that time the best co-founder for you? What did you recognize in her that you might say, hey, that complements me, and the other way around?
Well, shared passion. So we really thought we could bring value to publishers. And that's why we found each other. And we are completely different. And I think that's a really good thing. I also think it's important to keep remembering that, because I see it very often that people, not just in business relationships, also in normal relationships, people have certain strengths and other things that might annoy you, but it's a package. And you're not perfect either. You have your strong points and the things that other people find super annoying. Also a package. And I think it's always really important to remember that you need the complementary skills, and that they come with things that you feel different about. For example, I'm a very detailed person, very black and white. And Joelle is very creative, so less about details maybe, and more grey, and that really works perfectly together.
If you understand and accept, right?
Yeah, because the creative mind, you can also change ideas. And then from my perspective, I can think, oh, she changes all the time, and she can think, for me, you be a bit more flexible. Yeah. So you need to always realize that these things also make you strong, and not see them as annoying things. Yeah.
But that's the rational point of view, and now you know, right? You've grown up. I can imagine. I'm together with my co-founder already 22 years, and we both know what our strengths are, but also where we basically overlap or have different views. Yeah. How do you deal with conflict then in these situations?
Well, I think we always really respected each other, and so we did have disagreements. But as long as you have them, you have them about a topic and not on the person. Yeah. It's perfectly fine.
Correct.
As long as you don't make it personal, there's no problem.
No. So what would be your advice to startups and scale-ups where you also have 2 co-founders or 3, sometimes even more, which makes it even more complicated? Yeah. And how to deal with these situations?
I think communication is the most important thing. So always keep communicating. I think when you stop doing that and get angry in your head, it becomes way bigger. Yeah. Than it is, and respect the position every person has, and the value they bring. Yeah. I think you need so many different things to make a company successful. It can never be
yourself,
one person. No. And as long as you remember that, even if you're the one always in the media and outside, still people at the office need to make sure things happen. So never forget that you need all the different skills. Yeah.
So eventually it was a great journey that you guys had. Yes. You grew the company internationally. Eventually there were a few hundred people at the company. Yeah. At a certain moment you thought, is this the thing that I'm going to do for the next 10 years? What?
No, well, it didn't.
Or maybe
really,
not.
No.
What happened?
So we were looking for funding. We were operating in an area where scale is really important, and we had mainly US competitors who had a lot of funding. So we needed to make sure that we could keep up. And I think in Europe funding is always lower, so you need to be more efficient and smarter how you spend that money. But still we needed some more to grow. And then a company came around that wanted to buy us and invest. And at that moment, and still looking back, it was the right decision to do.
And how did that change the way that you worked in the company? Or did it change at all? Because suddenly you have a third-party investor that maybe it might look different at the business than you do, being the founder.
No, initially there was no difference at all, but we still had a small part of the company, and we negotiated that as long as we had part of the company, we could run the company. So of course you have yearly budget discussions, but we could run the company. So nothing really changed. Then the company that acquired us got acquired by Swisscom, and that changed more, and I think it's also normal after a few years that they try to get involved a bit more, but at a certain point I didn't feel like an entrepreneur anymore, and that's when I decided it's time to move on.
And did Joelle feel more or less the same at the same moment, or did you guys have in-depth discussions about it? Would one stay? Would you both move further or forward?
No, we had a lot of discussions about it, and our timing was slightly different, but only slightly. So we both adjusted a bit, so we could leave at the same time. Yeah. It's just makes more sense, and it's better for the people that take over that they actually don't have the founders there anymore.
Right. Yeah. So Janneke, we just talked about role models and inspiration. This BBL Meltons wrote a book, it's called Live, about dealing with challenges and also overcoming them in life and making an impact on other people's lives like you're doing. I would just want to give you this as appreciation of being here today, and I hope that you will take some inspiration from this as well.
Yes, thank you. Very impressive woman, so thank you.
Thank you.